I am so excited to do this. Y'all, I quit my job. Okay, I quit my job. And we knew it was going to happen at some point, but we didn't realize that it was going to happen so soon. So the plan was always, let me actually take you a little bit. I'm going to take you back a little bit, okay? So the plan was I was thinking that I would be quitting at oh my gosh, why for some reason I can't even remember when my son was born. The funny thing is he's turning 1 next month or next week, so it should be easy for me to remember March of last year. Before I found out I got pregnant or I was pregnant, I had already felt the urge to quit my day job. I was so close to pulling the trigger because everything was growing with Empowered by Women, and I really was just spread thin, and I wanted to be able to dive all into the business and dive all into supporting the women that we support within this community, and also be able to focus more time on bringing my product line to life, which has been the longest, the most drawn out journey ever. We can save that conversation for another day. But I, again, was very close to pulling the trigger to leaving my day job. This was back in 2023. Very shortly after is when I found out I was pregnant. And I said, okay, maybe it's not the best time to quit. And, we kind of sat with it for a while. And I was like, you know what? Well, it kind of works out because I was thinking, if I did quit and I needed to get a day job or another job, like maybe I could find a part-time job where I'm only working a couple days a week, just so I could have a little bit more financial security as opposed to just completely cutting off any kind of recurring paycheck. That was, one that you can expect, right? So I found out I was pregnant and I said, never mind. But we realized, well, the maternity leave rules have changed for where I used to work. And so I would be able to get access to spending almost a year at home with the baby on maternity leave. Not paid. I would only get the 12 weeks paid maternity leave, which is okay. It's not nothing, but it's also pales in comparison to the rest of the world. Anyways, we stayed with the job. We had my beautiful baby boy in March of 2024. He is literally turning 1 next week, which blows my mind. By the time I post this, he will probably have already turned 1, but time has just flown by. And for some reason, even though he was my third baby, for some reason, I failed to remember that just because I wasn't working doesn't mean I wasn't working, because I essentially replaced my day job with now being a mom all over again to this newborn that required a lot of my time and energy. So I still didn't get to pour a ton of time and energy into the business, even though we've done amazing things in the past year and a half while I was pregnant and while I was home with him. Um, it's not the same as being able to focus fully on the business as if you had no other distractions and things pulling you in different directions. So now that brings us to now. The baby has started daycare, so he goes from about 8 to 4:30 p.m. And the daycare is very close to us, which is really nice. So we just wake up and then walk him over and pick him up sometime before 5. But with the current political climate that we're in, things kind of sped up in terms of me needing to resign from my day job. So it happened very abruptly. On Monday of this week was when I made the decision that I needed to resign. It just was no longer aligned with what I wanted for myself and for my family, and they weren't able to accommodate me the way that I needed them to accommodate me. So it was a very heavy day for me on Monday. I feel like I'm not much of a crier, but I cried multiple times that day just because of the sheer weight of the decision. if I didn't have kids, I would have quit a long time ago. I really would have. But of course, once you're a mom and you're responsible for other people, and making sure that your household is still able to have food on the table or not have to, up and change their whole lives because of the decisions that you make, like that, it was a big decision. And I really had to sit with it quite a bit before I could finally pull the trigger and say, okay, I think I'm walking away. I had anticipated, even after making that decision, that I could potentially do a full 2 weeks before my last official day. But 48 hours later, I realized, okay, Wednesday is my last day. So this is my second day of being self-employed without my 9-to-5 job. And I thought it would be a really fun experience to do this podcast type series where I can take you behind the scenes on everything that I'm working on and show you the ins and outs of all of it. And I kind of went back and forth a little bit about how was I going to do this? Was I going to do an IG live? Was I going to do a Facebook live? Was I going to just do like quick stories? But I know that I wanted to be able to share the behind the scenes for anyone that was interested in it. Because when I launched my business back in 2021, I already knew I wanted to be able to take everyone on the journey with me. And I feel like this is just another layer to that. And to recognize that I know that magic is going to happen in these next 6 months, and to be able to look back on the journey and see like where all the magic is happening, like right before my eyes, I think will be so cool to be able to come back to. And just to have all of you along the journey with me. So that was probably the world's longest intro to a podcast episode. But that is what we are going to embark on in the next 6 months. I feel like it works out perfectly because we are in between seasons for our regular podcast where we interview women in business. And I think this would be a really, really fun way for you all to get to know me a little bit better, and for me to still kind of indirectly support you all in your business endeavors, because we're going to be talking a lot about different strategies and systems that I'm putting into place for my business that you can then take and replicate into yours. And of course, we can always dive into any questions that you might have after listening or watching this episode. My DMs on Instagram are always open, and I would love to hear your feedback, so that we can really like build together. But I am so excited. So going back to yesterday, which was my first full day of not having my day job and fully being able to focus on the business, it really was like I had to sit with it. It was a weird space to be mentally. And I had one of my other girls who actually is a part of the Empowered by Women community, who we realized after the fact that we actually worked together in the same building. So we're kind of going through this journey together, and I'm super excited to share more about that later. But we've been messaging kind of back and forth about just how weird it is, like the fact that, oh my gosh, this is real. We've actually like said bye to the thing that we've been wanting to say bye to for quite a while, but now it's our reality. And I was telling my partner Daniel that I wasn't even sure how to feel, and he was like, you should be popping champagne bottles right now, like this is what you've always wanted. And it's true, it was, but I didn't plan for it to happen this way, right? Where it literally happens in the span of 48 hours, me making the decision to leave, and then me actually saying, okay, this is my last email to you all, like good luck with everything. Me being very much like a team player and wanting to take care of all the people around me, I wanted to stick around until next Friday so that I can tie up all my loose ends and really set my team up for success. But it didn't happen that way. I left so abruptly, and I literally had a meeting with my team. I was in a management role, for those of you that didn't know. I literally had a meeting with my team like 2 hours before I logged off for the last time. and it was already late afternoon. So half of my team had already gone home. I couldn't even get to tell them directly. And it took everyone by shock, of course. I mean, it was taking me by shock, but it had to happen. So come Thursday, which was yesterday, I woke up still kind of in shock and like, what am I going to do with myself? Knowing fully well I have so much work to do, and I'm excited to do the work, but still just in that moment, I was like, what am I going to do with myself? And so I kind of laid there for a little bit, and I made a very conscious choice like, okay, Crystal, the one thing that we're not going to do is just do what we used to do, where we would roll out of bed and very first thing come to the computer and start working. I knew that was what I was not going to do, because now I was in charge of my time, and I want to make sure that I'm operating in the frequency of abundance, right? And if I'm allowing myself to be like, oh my gosh, okay, like now I don't have that biweekly paycheck that I know I can count on to come in, I feel like now I need to like work and do all the things and like hustle, hustle, hustle. That is not the energy that I'm going to allow myself to be in, because that really does come from scarcity, right? Feeling like it's not everything that you need is going to come to you. And I know it will. I fully trust in my journey, and I fully trust in my own kind of commitment to the work I do and just my own work ethic. I know I'm going to make shit happen, because I've already been making shit happen, right? While doing all the things, while juggling the day job, and having the baby at home, I was able to make really amazing things happen with the Empowered by Women community. So now that the baby's in daycare and the job is officially out of my hair, like, oh my gosh, we are about to skyrocket. And this is why I'm so like amped up to have you all on this journey with me, and to be able to leave this podcast trail of everything that I'm working on to make those things happen. So, what are my goals in these next 6 months? I mean, obviously, so many, but really, one of my biggest goals that was really for this year, but I'm now going to make that goal the next 6 months, just because, hey, I don't have a day job to juggle anymore. I have a lot more time to dive into all the things that I want to dive into, including my goals. So one of my biggest goals is to land a $10,000 paid speaking gig. I don't know how that's going to happen. Full transparency, this is going to be like real true storytelling. Okay, so if that's what you're here for, like, you are in the right place. I'm going to tell you everything. I am an open book, and like really, like, now we're going to be flipping through the pages and reading all the paragraphs together. I have not yet been paid for a speaking gig. I made the decision to pursue speaking professionally at the beginning of 2023 now. Is that right? That's crazy. No, that can't be right. No, it was 2024. You're right. 2024. I was like, it couldn't have been that long. At the beginning of 2024, I was a part of this virtual summit with Women Thrive. It was an incredible experience. And it came with like 6 months of being in community with the other speakers, which I really, really loved. And that helped to kind of give me more clarity in terms of how I wanted to build Empowered by Women and how I wanted to support the community. But it also really solidified me wanting to pursue speaking professionally. So I had done the podcast for a while before then. I had guested on other people's podcasts before that summit. I had done a live in-person panel prior to that summit. But again, the summit really solidified, this is what I want to continue pursuing. And so I have been actively looking for different opportunities to do that. And I've been invited to some, which is amazing. And I've created some for myself, which is equally amazing. So I delivered my first keynote back in July 2024 at our inaugural summit here in the Bay Area. And it was a 40-minute keynote. It was all about showing up authentically and the power of that, like all of the things that transpire when you allow yourself to show up fully authentically. That was my first ever keynote. And since then, I was able to also speak at someone's mastermind and someone's Galentine's events. I did a couple other panels and virtual summits. And I've also been invited to speak at a future event in September. I had one panel gig that was supposed to be happening this weekend, actually, but it got canceled. It was in LA, and in light of the LA fires, it got canceled. So completely understandable. That would have been my biggest audience to date, but that's totally okay. So a 10K speaking gig is one of my goals for this next 6 months. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know where it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. Contingency plan, if that doesn't happen, my backup goal is at least let me get 5 separate paid speaking gigs. I don't care like what the amount is, as long as there's 5 of them and they're all paid. Okay. They don't need to happen within the 6 months. They just need to be booked. So that's one of my goals. Another one of my goals is to hit 300 members. So we have a little over 100 members now. My goal by the end of the year is 500 members. The goal for the lifetime of Empowered by Women, we want to create a community that truly lasts lifetimes, that supports tens of thousands of women, and that lists those tens of thousands of women on our directory so that communities all over the US can easily find their favorite women-owned businesses. That is what we want, and that is what we're aiming for. So girl, if you're listening and you're not yet listed on our directory or part of our community, you need to join our community. We're going to be doing big things. We've already been doing big things, but it's going to get even more magical, and we want you to be a part of it. So 300 members is the goal by the end of the 6 months. And then also, I am actually writing a book and I'm super excited for it. I have never written a book, so I'm very unfamiliar with the process. So I'm excited to kind of dive more into my journey with that as we move through the 6 months of this podcast series that I'm doing. But I'm super excited to share all the things that I'm going to be learning with that. I don't even know if I can say a lot of it written. I have a lot written, but I don't even know how many pages it equates to. And I want it to be a decent sized book. So my birthday is in September, and I would love to be able to launch it in September. I am working with a company right now that is helping with the editing and the formatting and the whole like publishing process, just because I knew I didn't have any experience with that, and I didn't really want to dive into the full self-publishing world. I would have rather had some support in that, which is why I decided to go with the publishing house. So those are my 3 big goals, and I'm sharing that with you so that you could be fully invested into my success in hitting those goals, and that we can celebrate together. And hopefully this will also inspire you to set your really big goals and push you to keep doing the work to get there. Okay, so let's dive into what these first 2 days of being fully self-employed have been like. So I woke up yesterday morning, and like I said, I wanted to be really, really mindful of my energy and making sure I was not operating in this mindset of scarcity. I did not want to feel like I needed to just like hustle my butt off just to guarantee my very next paycheck. I made the decision to quit knowing that I had options available to me to at least hold me over in the meantime while I do the work. And if it comes down to me having to get another job sometime in the future to, again, help, just take care of financial needs while I'm still building my business, I am fully okay with that. I know that's a kind of, there's a lot of stigma with that, right? You go and launch your business, you leave your corporate job or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you're having to go back and getting a job again. Like, it's okay. We don't need to make it as like detrimental as we tend to do. It's the reality of the situation, and that's okay. You need to take care of whatever you need to take care of. So if you find yourself in that situation where you haven't yet been able to build your business as much as you wanted to, for it to be financially sustainable enough for you to only focus on your business, and you find yourself having to find another job, that's totally okay. Give yourself grace. I know I'm going to give myself grace if it ever comes to that point. But we're not going to be worrying about that right now. Okay. I am not looking for a job right now. I am fully invested into doing all the things that I've been wanting to do with our business. So I woke up and I said, you know what? I'm going to take a beat. I'm going to have a nice slow morning. I stayed with the baby for a little bit. I did that both today and yesterday, where we kind of just laid in bed until he was ready to get up. I had some breakfast and I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym. I was like in the best shape of my life before I got pregnant with Sammy. And I knew that was going to happen. I was like, if I get pregnant again, it's going to be when I'm in like tip top shape. And of course, that's when that happened. So I had previously been going to the gym like 5 or 6 times a week before I got pregnant. And yeah, it's been a while since I've hit the gym routinely. It's probably been like a year and a half at minimum since I've hit the gym routinely. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym today. I've pretty much lost all of my muscle, but that is totally okay. Again, I am giving myself grace, and I recognize that it's okay to start over. The point is, what is your mentality going into all the things that you're doing, right? I'm not going to be beating myself up for the fact that I had a baby and I was pregnant and I had been busy building a business and going to my 9-to-5 job and doing all the things. I'm not going to beat myself up for the fact that I had to sacrifice the gym time in order to be able to take care of all of that. And I think that's a really important conversation that so many of us need to have with ourselves, that it is okay to not do all of the things and to not do all of the things well all of the time. I truly do believe, I know, like, I go back and forth with the word sacrifice. I think you get to decide what your sacrifice is. And as much as I don't like the word sacrifice, I mean, I think it happens, right? We have all of these big dreams, and you get to choose what your sacrifice is going to be. Unfortunately, a lot of people choose to sacrifice their big dreams. I knew that was never meant for me. I always knew that I was at some point going to pursue my biggest, wildest dreams. And that's what I'm doing now. And I'm still fully committed to that. And I don't foresee myself ever letting that go, because I know I would be a person that would have so much regret if I make it to the end of my life with all the what ifs. I don't want that for myself. And I don't want that for you either. I really want to, one of my missions is to show other women, especially moms, that you can have it all. You can create a really incredible life for yourself and for your family. You can be a really successful, badass entrepreneur and still be the most incredible present mother. And they don't have to be so separate. You can do that for yourself. But sometimes there has to be sacrifice. So you get to choose what that sacrifice is, right? So for me, for a while, for the past almost 2 years, that sacrifice was me no longer going to the gym and working out, which is something that I really enjoyed doing in the past. Another one of my sacrifices was sleep. I would much rather work for an extra hour or 2 and get the things done that I want to get done than say I got like 8-9 hours of sleep. Like, I can function off of 6 hours of sleep. 6 or 7 is ideal, but 6 I could do. And I've been doing that ever since I had my first daughter anyway. So it's not necessarily like something that I just chose on a whim. As a parent, you are used to sacrificing sleep, and I was okay with continuing to do that for the sake of me pouring my time and energy into the things that I wanted to build with Empowered by Women. You get to decide, right? And I know that there's always so much that we're juggling and there's so much on the to-do list, but it's so important to be able to recognize, like, what do you find most important? And not just like in the here and now, but also like at the end of the day, right? So you can continue to like clean your house every single day, for the sake of having a clean house every single day. But if your goal is to change your current situation and have something big and beautiful in the next 5 years, if you're not changing anything about your daily routine and working towards that big goal, like nothing's going to happen. You're still going to be in your day job or whatever job career that you don't like and just cleaning the same spots of your house every single day. And that's not what I wanted for myself. So another thing that kind of fell by the wayside was the consistent cleaning of the house. And that was another place where I was okay to sacrifice a little bit. It's okay if the house is messy a little bit. That was that was definitely a little bit of a process with me and my partner just being okay with that. Him particularly, because he is definitely more of the type frequently. I'm more of the type to do a deeper cleaning less frequently. Let me know in the comments which one you are, but that was kind of where we were. And I think he also kind of just got comfortable with the fact, like, this is just life. Life with 3 kids, life with a very, very, very busy schedule with work, with the business, with all of their extracurriculars. They go to hip hop, they go to cheer, doing all the things. It's almost impossible to have a clean house all of the time. And that's okay. I feel like I keep going on tangents, but I want to make sure I'm incorporating all of these little mindset things that I am constantly giving myself pep talks about, to make sure that I'm operating at my highest frequency and not allowing all the negativity to creep into my mind. Because things like, oh my gosh, like the house is just like a mess. I'm just like a terrible mother because I can't even keep the house clean. You can't let those thoughts dictate how you show up in the world and what you're worthy and capable of. You just can't. You need to allow yourself the grace to recognize all of the hard work that you are doing and the fact that you're only human and can do so much. So it's okay if you can't make it to the gym every day. It's okay if your house isn't spotless every day. It's okay if you don't have the morning or the nighttime routine where you have all these beautiful products and you're giving yourself facials and all of the things. It's okay if you can't show up for your business one day or 2 days or for a week because you do need to focus on all those other things. That's okay. Give yourself grace. Just recognize, what are you working towards, and are you making sure you're taking care of yourself mentally and physically in the process, right? For me, even though I couldn't go to the gym, I would still try to figure out ways, like maybe let's go for a walk. Let's take the kids to the park, right? Get creative with how you are incorporating all of those different facets into your life. So going back to what I did, I went to the gym. I took it easy. I was totally okay with that. I spent most of my time stretching, and then I did some cardio, and that was about it. But I felt so good knowing that I just went to the gym. And then I went home and I made sure I like sat and had breakfast without feeling like I need to eat breakfast and work. And I know this is also another thing where it's like, well, I don't always have the time to eat breakfast and like do that separately and be very present in my meal. And that's okay. I was there. I literally was just there a couple of days ago. If that's what your situation is now, that's where I just was. Again, give yourself grace. Just do what you got to do. Okay. But if you have the time to really allow yourself to be present with your meal and with just everything that you do, or anything that you do, maybe not everything that you do, but all the little things, allow yourself those moments of just being present and really just like relishing in the fact that you have the opportunity to do that, right? You have the opportunity to sit with yourself and enjoy a nice healthy meal. You have the opportunity to sit in bed for a few minutes longer. You have the opportunity to go for a walk, whatever it is. Allow yourself even those smallest moments throughout your day. And then after that, or probably during that, I also got to dive into my journal, Your Business Profitable Journal, by one of our members, Jackie, Coach Jackie, right there, that little cutie. So I got my signed copy of this journal at the recent Clean Living Magazine Experience event that we went to in Bel Air this past weekend. And I was so excited to dive into this. And when I tell you, like, things have just been so aligned since I made the decision to quit. Like, girl, things have been so aligned. I just got this journal this weekend, and it's literally about making your business profitable in the next 30 days, which is obviously something that I'm going to need to do right now that I'm self-employed. So it was just perfect timing for me to be able to dive into that. And I'm only on day 2, but I have been loving it so far. Like, I am really allowing myself to soak in every single bit of goodness in this journal. I am reading every single word, like, with I don't know, I need a word for it. I'm just like allowing myself to like take it all in. But the first day was creating your boss statement, and it's about how much do you envision yourself receiving, if that's monthly or yearly for your successful whatever your business is, and basically just like reaffirming that to yourself. So I've been doing all the things. I joined the online exclusive community that comes with this journal, where it gives you even more affirmations. There was a beautiful meditation that I did this morning that was part of that program, and I really allowed myself to be present for that. So that is something I'm going to be so intentional about these next 6 months, and really just ongoing forever is the goal, about allowing myself to accept all of those moments of self-care and those moments where I'm allowing myself to just get really grounded with my why and with my wildest dreams, and with allowing myself to receive all that is going to come. So super excited that I got to dive into that. Speaking of alignment, you know what else happened? Literally the day that I decided to quit, and I was having these conversations with myself of like, am I actually going to do this? Because this is like a wild ass decision. Like, this is such a heavy decision. And of course, all of those, you know, the imposter syndrome and the doubt, those creep in whenever you have big decisions like this. And I was asking myself, like, can I really quit? Like, can I really like make my business what I know it can be, what I need it to be? Isn't that so crazy that I was asking myself if I can make it happen, if I know I can make it? What am I saying? I was asking myself if I could actually build it to what I know it can be. Isn't that kind of like conflicting? Like, I'm telling myself I know it's going to be this amazing thing, but then I was also asking myself, but can I make it this amazing thing, even though I know it's going to be this amazing thing? Anyways, while I was having that debate within myself, I also got the notification from this publishing house that I'm working with, that I was on the cover of their magazine. And this wasn't a surprise that I was on the cover. I had reserved it since last year, but the timing of it is wild. The timing is immaculate. The cover, or the magazine itself, is literally called Becoming an Unstoppable Woman. And I got the notification that I'm on the cover for this month. The same day, I'm questioning to myself, like, can I actually do it? And it was almost like the universe was like, girl, you literally just proclaimed to the whole world that you're fucking unstoppable. And now you're asking yourself if you can even do it. Like, you told people you're unstoppable. You're telling people that you can do whatever you want. So tell yourself that, because you've already proclaimed it. So that was wild. I feel like the timing of that was amazing. And one of our girls, Nikki Frechette, she's our community director in the Southern California area. She always talks about divine timing, and that was never a phrase that I used. But ever since she's been saying that to me, I see it and I feel it and I relish in it. And everything this week just has felt like divine timing. So, what else did I do? Yesterday, then I really started diving into catching up with all my emails. One of my more minor goals is getting to inbox 0. So being able to put a system into place with my inbox so that I'm not letting things fall through the cracks. I'm really keeping up with all the people that we need to partner with and that are applying to our markets or are trying to be a part of our events, and making sure that I'm communicating with our members on a timely basis. That is something that I want to make sure I have a system for in the future as well. So I spent a couple, maybe like an hour or two, catching up with all of these emails because my email inbox has been going crazy, and doing all that. That was fun. Then I had some amazing collaboration calls both yesterday and today. Even that felt like so aligned. Like I have calls every single week for a variety of reasons, whether they're potential partners or whatever. But the ones this week were all calls that I was really, really excited for, and with women that I really, really enjoy and love. So I feel like that also is like was perfectly aligned, because it's like you're here for a reason, and these women that you're supporting, like they equally want to support you, and you guys are going to build fucking magic together. So that felt great. And I had so many other people kind of wanting to book calls with me for, again, a variety of reasons. And my schedule has been so packed with everything that I was doing. So people were having to book out calls for April, and they're like, is this right? Like, do you not have any availability this month? And I had told a couple of them, you know what, like my schedule might be opening up very, very soon, because I knew I was quitting, right? So I said, just book something. Let's put something on the calendar. And then if something opens up sooner, then I'll squeeze you in. And I was very close to, my mouth is getting so dry. Give me 1 second. I was very close to really opening up my calendar so I can accommodate more people. But something that I learned last year was that you should never be that available. And it's advice that I hold very highly, because I 100% agree with that piece of advice, that you should not be that available. Previously, I had my calendar open for like 4 to 5 hour stretches for anyone to book calls with me. And sometimes those calls would even go for like more than an hour. And I would be on calls all day. And at the end of the day, not have had any time to, for one, follow up with the things that I was supposed to do as a result of those calls, and two, do any of the other work not related to those calls, because I was so stuck on calls all day that I realized I need to pare down my availability so much it's not even funny. So there are certain like boundaries that I put in place, in like not allowing calls to be booked at the very end or the very beginning of the month, because I know there's some things that I want to make sure that I'm doing routinely to really make sure I'm taking care of my business the way a business needs to be taken care of, right? Looking at all the financials, getting my books in order, paying out to the people that I need to pay, getting everything in order for the next month. So that is a hard and fast rule that it's a boundary that I set. So now thinking like, well, now that I've left my day job, I have like all this time on my hands, and I was very close to opening my calendar back up again. I said, Crystal, you can't do that. As much as you want to collaborate with all of these incredible women, it makes no sense to have all these calls and to not be able to do anything with it for quite some time, because there's so much on your plate, right? It just doesn't make sense. And you need to be able to focus on building the foundation that you committed to building so that you can support all of these future collaborations when the time is right. So it took me a while to really understand that for myself, that not everything has to be a priority, even though it seems like such an amazing opportunity. It does not have to be your top priority. If it was that perfect of an opportunity and such a great collaboration, it can wait. If it was fully meant for you and aligns for you, it can wait, right? There are always going to be opportunities falling in your lap and being presented to you, and it's up to you to use your discernment about what is the end goal. What are your 3 goalposts for the end of the year? And will these calls or meetings or whatever that you're taking, do those actually help you get to any of those goals? And if they don't, then it doesn't need to be a priority for you. It should not be a priority for you. That's not to say that you can't incorporate these things into your schedule. If you have the time and capacity to bring on all these fun projects, go ahead and do it, but not everything needs to be a priority. So I've decided, you know what? I'm not going to be expanding my calendar. I'm going to keep it as is. I might rearrange it a little bit, but I'm not adding in more time slots because I want to make sure that I'm still honoring my time and my boundaries and making sure that I am allocating enough time to focus on the things that I know I need to focus on for this business to properly grow. All right. And then one of the calls, I'm freaking so excited about this. One of the calls that I was on was with a couple of girls that were actually onboarding into the Empowered by Women organization so that we can continue our expansion. We expanded into LA last year thanks to the fabulous Nikki. And now I am pretty sure it will have already been announced by the time this video gets uploaded. So if it hasn't been, well, then you get to be the first to know. But we are expanding into Milwaukee, which feels very random, but also so very aligned because we are bringing 2 wonderful, wonderful humans into the mix who are so excited to build the Empowered by Women community in their area and start hosting events and really showcase what our community is all about, because they've noticed a few gaps in their own communities in their local area, and they want to be able to bring the spirit of Empowered by Women into the mix to show women there that like communities like this exist, support like this exists. And if you're looking for it, like, baby girl, we got it and we want you to be a part of it. So, oh my gosh, I am so freaking excited. This is our first out-of-state expansion. We already have some out-of-state members in terms of who's listed on the directory and who's a member, but to be able to bring our in-person community out of state is something I'm absolutely celebrating so hard. We're going to bring a summit over there, an annual summit, and it's going to be so amazing, and I cannot wait. So if you follow us on Instagram, go find the announcement post and celebrate the women that we're bringing on, because you truly will love them. They are incredible, incredible women, and I know that they're going to bring so much more magic into this space. So with that said, me knowing that I am expanding our team quite a bit, even more than just our community directors. We're bringing on ambassadors and our event director and more people into our speaker incubator. I wanted to make sure that we are creating all of the systems also behind this. Everyone is set up for success, because one thing that I've always been, first of all, a proponent for is communication is like number one. And that goes both ways, right? What are my expectations of you? What are your expectations of me? But I've seen truly how important it is a lot more these past few months, and really making sure that everything is written out so clearly and that the people that I'm going to be bringing into the Empowered by Women team have all the tools that they need to succeed. I don't want everyone running around like chickens with their heads cut off. I don't want to waste my time repeating the same answers to the same questions. I don't want them to feel like they're not supported and they're kind of just flying by the seat of their pants. I want every woman that walks into our organization and wants to be more involved to be like, holy shit, like this is magical. Like this is amazing what you have set up. And I feel like I have all the tools I need to succeed. That's what I want to set up. So I spent a lot of time yesterday in Notion, making sure all those pages that I had built out for our community director, at least started for our community director, like really was the most organized it could be. And if I'm thinking about doing a Notion workshop just because Notion has been like a game changing for me. So if you were interested in that, if you don't have kind of a system to keep all of your things organized, leave a comment below wherever you're watching or tuning into this, so we can make that happen for you. But you need to have a system in place where your team, if you are expanding, has all the resources they need without feeling like they have to scramble and go through like a million email threads or text threads or Instagram DMs or constantly calling you and asking you the same questions. You need to have systems in place. You need to have a section with like frequently asked questions, or just a general Q&A. You need to start building out your SOPs. This goes for anyone, okay? If you have a team already, or if you are planning on building a team, start writing out your SOPs. If you don't know what an SOP is, it's a standard operating procedure. For us especially, like that is, I mean, every business needs them, but like with the amount of things that we've got going on, the different programs we have in place, the different partnerships we have in place, we need these SOPs to make sure that there is consistency in everything that we do. Because if there isn't consistency in everything you do, that's going to affect the quality of your work, right? Of your products, of your service, of the way that you're showing up, because you're showing up differently every time, or you have a different system in place every time you onboard a new client. You want to make sure everything is lined up so nicely that you're creating a really amazing user experience for that client or for the team member that you're onboarding, so that they want to keep working with you, right? And so that they can have the best experience. And ultimately, everyone wins, right? It's either leads to longer retention or a repeat client, whatever the case may be. Everyone gets to have that beautiful experience when you're making sure that you're laying down the proper foundation for that experience. So maybe in the next one, in the next episode, we can dive into a little bit more of like what I've built out. But I'm super excited to have been able to spend the time really reorganizing that and making sure that that was something that they can access now that they're coming on board as community directors with Empowered by Women. All right, so it's almost 4:30. So I really started the day maybe at like 11:30 the day in terms of like my work day. So I'm gonna go pick up my baby boy. I am going to end this episode here. The next few hours is just going to be some quality family time and maybe tidying up some things in the house that I have not had the chance to tidy up in the chaos of my now past life. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it was packed with little gems that you can take and apply into your own business. Please let me know if you've watched it or listened to it. Take a screenshot or whatever and tag me on Instagram at Empowered by Women so I can reshare it. I would love that. I would love your feedback. And I hope to see you for the next episode.